Good evening and welcome to All for United WFC with me, Matt Crane. I'm joined tonight by two guests. I'm joined by Gareth and Sophie. Gareth, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good to be back live after pre-recording last week or the week before, whenever it was. Time sort of blurs into one recently.
Yeah, fantastic. And Sophie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. It's a pleasure. Slight change of guest because Courtney had a couple of work commitments, so we really appreciate you stepping in last minute. Tonight, then, obviously, we're going to touch on Rangers and Man United women. We have the friendly on Thursday, so we are super excited. I think this is the first time that they've allowed us as Man United fans to a game for a good 18 months. So, really excited to get into that then. Sophie, do you just want to talk about a little bit then about yourself? And obviously, I was told you're part of the Rangers supporters group, so just want to have a brief chat about that.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Rangers Women's Supporters Group that follows the women's team all over across the country. So we're really gathering a good supporter kind of collection just now for the new season ahead. So it's going to be really interesting. There's going to be lots of support. A lot of women, young girls, families joining the group as well. So it's great to see.
Good evening as well. We've got John Fry and John Foster in the comments as well. Gareth, I'm going to obviously start with you then, and we'll talk about it first from a Man United point of view then. What are we expecting on Thursday? Because obviously we've played now a couple of pre-season games, drew with Liverpool and beat Aston Villa. What do you see sort of the test being Thursday?
I think it's another kind of step up, I think, from the pre-season games we've had so far. I think the test really is going to be kind of how quickly there seems to be like a holiday kind of tour atmosphere within the group at the moment, which always, I think on one hand is really great to see. On another hand, having done sort of sports team tours myself, obviously a much, much lower level, not professional, but you can kind of think, oh, well, it's not, the game isn't as important. So hopefully, they go out and they play like we know that they can. I'm expecting a close game. Rangers over the last couple of years have improved a lot. Whereas before it was sort of all Glasgow City really. Whereas I think Rangers and Celtic now together are kind of pushing that. It'll be interesting. Rangers aren't necessarily a club that I know a great deal about outside of the obvious Lizzie Arnott, Jane Ross link, which we'll touch on later. But yeah, I just want to see the girls go out, play well, give it their all. Maybe see some more rotations, some fringe players come in and sort of really try and stake a claim for those places. I don't think Mark is going to know yet who his best 11 is. I think particularly in the midfield, there's places up for grabs. And I'd say in defence as well. I wouldn't say that his back four yet is absolutely guaranteed. So be interesting to see, how he sets up initially. Are we going to see a typical preseason game, or are we going to go and see an 11 that he thinks will start the season and then make changes in the second half? So I think most of the interesting stuff for me is going to be pre-game in terms of how we set up and how we line up. But yeah, I just want to see us go out and play well and play like we would against Reading.
Yeah. I'll put this question on for you first, Sophie, and then we'll get on to sort of Rangers. John's asking, how many fans do you think will be there roughly?
I think it could be a great turnout, to be honest. We played Chelsea women in a friendly last week and it was sold out. The allocation was sold out, so it was really good. So it's a wee bit of an earlier time, so I think that's going to play a factor with a 5 p.m. kickoff. But yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be a good turnout.
Yeah, I think as well. I think somebody was telling me the men's are on afterwards in the Europa League, so hopefully that doesn't affect attendance too much. Yeah,
that's a factor as well. We've got a few dropouts already because they're away to see the men.
So in terms of Rangers then, what are you expecting? Because obviously you've had now quite a few pre-season games. I think you've played more than us from what I gather. And obviously you've also had fans back as well. So what are we expecting then in terms of like from a Rangers point of view?
Yeah, so we're just coming to the end of pre-season and we've had cup games as well. So we're kind of in that competitive stage now. But this fixture on Thursday is a fantastic fixture for us. It's a step up for us as well, to kind of get the experience and just kind of really cement the team to get going for the new season. To be honest, the Chelsea game, I think we put in a solid performance. So I think we're going to see another solid performance from us. I don't think there'll be any major changes to the team. So it'll be an 11 that we're used to. But yeah, we're really excited for this new season ahead. It's going to be a good one for us.
Absolutely. And just to answer that quick question there as well, yes, it is on MUTV, I believe, for those that do have it. John Fry's asking, how did you get on against Chelsea?
We lost 4-1. I mean, Chelsea are an elite team.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting anything more, but we scored first against the run of play, and it was a silly goal for them to let in. So that's quite promising. Yeah. But it's a massive learning curve for us. So I think we can go out there on Thursday and be kind of to our full potential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, obviously we're looking forward to it as well. As I mentioned, the first time sort of fans have been allowed, and obviously for as well, last year we played Glasgow City, and that was behind closed doors. So this is actually the first meeting between the two clubs. So yeah, I think massively just grateful to get to games. I know you mentioned, you've been in a few, and you'd had cup games. That, but I think for us, we've kind of been starved of football for a while now. So just to get back to one pre-season game for us is, it's literally better than nothing. Going to discuss then sort of key players, because you talked about, you scored past Chelsea, and obviously we know Jane Ross and Lisiana. And then personally, I know you signed Sam Kerr as well. That's somebody I've seen before, very good player. Tessel Middag used to be in the WSL as well at Man City. But who would you say then could, cause us potential problems? Any of those I mentioned, or?
Yes, certainly the names we've got this year, it's just crazy how many players we've signed. Like when I saw the Jane Ross sign come through, I thought, oh, this is it. This is our season. We've got Jane Ross. Like you said, Sam Kerr's on to a good season this season, I think. She's had a good pre-season. Lizzie Arnett's been here for a season now. She's been banging in some goals in pre-season as well, so you better watch out for her. Brogan Hayes, another name I would watch out for on Thursday. Definitely one to watch.
Gareth, do you want to talk about from our point of view then, maybe? Because like you mentioned before, we've not yet found a settled 11, and obviously we've got new signings to throw into the mix.
Yeah, so I think the back four will be interesting. I think for me that's the really important part to get settled and sorted. So I would like to see a back four of Ona, Millie, Mannion, and Blundell. Just I think that should be our back four going into the season. So that's something I really want to see. Obviously, attack, I think, is where our options are more limited. It will be good for Tooney to get a run out. She's not had many, if any, pre-season minutes so far. Obviously, we've been at the Olympics, but I know she's up in Scotland training. So it'd be good to see her get some minutes. And obviously see Russo continue her recovery from injury. I think the midfield, is where the kind of interest for me is with kind of where do we go? Does Lucy Staniforth play a more important role this year, with obviously having worked with Mark Skinner before. That's something that I think we could potentially see. And then where does Hayley Ladd fit in? Where does Bo Arisa fit in? Obviously, Katie is captain. Are we going to see her not start as many games as she did last season? And I think probably shouldn't start as many as she did last season. I think we've improved in midfield, and we now have better options in there. For me, I think if I was in Mark's shoes, and I'm not, but I would go with Ladd, Bo Arisa, and I think when the season starts, I go with Jackie. But I understand she may not necessarily be ready to come in with pre-season, so I think that's going to be where the interest is. Fusa needs a good run out too. Yeah, she does. She's not played huge amounts at all. Struggled with injury last year. Could really do with some sort of steady minutes. I don't think she is going to be one that starts a lot this season unless we have injuries. I think for Fuso to get a run of games starting would mean that we've got some injury issues. But there's nothing saying that she can't come off the bench and have impact off the bench. I think that's likely to be how she's used. Interesting seeing that Jane Ross is spot on and that we've messed up, which is, I think contentious. I don't think we did. I just think we signed a player that didn't fit the system that we wanted to play. So putting Jane Ross into the system we were playing didn't work for her. She was having to come so deep and get the ball even in midfield, which just completely goes against what she was trying to do. Whereas if we were going to sort of hammer balls into the box, I think she'd have scored a lot more than she did. So I don't think we necessarily messed up. I just think it was the wrong system for her and the wrong player for our system. So it just didn't work out for either party. But it's good that she's kind of gone in and is having a good start to the season. That's pleasing to see. If anyone leaves United, you want them to do well. I mean, I'll say that if Siggy smashed the hat-trick
on Thursday.
Yeah. Will I say that if Siggy smashed the hat-trick second game of the season? Maybe not. But yeah, or if we lose 3-2 and it's a Jane Ross hat-trick, that would actually, I'd find that very, very funny. I'd quite enjoy that from a sort of just self-pity perspective. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a club that we don't know a huge amount about. So how do we set up? It's a good test also if we want Champions League ambitions, which both clubs obviously have, to sort of see how we can set up for sort of a European tie, even though it is just a long coach journey away. I would be using that if I was Mark Skinner to kind of go, this is how we're going to prepare for European ties, and this is the level of behaviour I expect whenever we go abroad for games and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So I'm just looking at this comment here, Sophie, and I'm going to let you touch on this because, like Gareth said, when we had Jane, kind of the way we played at Man United was completely different to other clubs. I noticed, like at West Ham and Man City, they would, have a lot of wing play and they'd be crossing the ball and she'd be in the box. Whereas when we had her, it was more a build-up of like through the middle. So she was having to come deep a lot of the time to sort of her own halfway line to collect the ball to then, turn and try and beat players, which isn't a game. But how do you then sort of set up in terms of your team and obviously getting the best out of her? Is it more wing play or is it sort of counter-attacking? Is she like in the box or how do you get the best out of Jane?
To be honest, I've only seen her in a couple of games so far this season, but she's definitely an attacking player. I wouldn't really say she would be kind of holding back. What she'll play on Thursday, I don't know, but the mentality is go forward, pretty much. So, I mean, she's got the goals in her, so I can't see why not. She's going to be a fantastic player for us this season. But yeah, I think she's more likely to be up there up front kind of getting in the box and crossing and being that attacking player in there.
So thinking about that then, would you say that obviously, Jane's come in, was it maybe last year then that goals or more goals were needed from sort of a Rangers point of view? Because I know they were quite up near the top, weren't they? And then finished
yes. Third. So December we were flying high. We were, I think, at one point when we stopped for Christmas, we were first in the league, and we had no issues about scoring goals. We've got fantastic goal scorers, and every game we were scoring, it was at least 3 different goal scorers. We weren't having to rely on one person to get the goals. But it was games that we were completely on top of the opposition, and we just lost concentration, and we got attacked on a counter-attack. And it's just games we didn't see out, which we were all over them. And I think that's the most frustrating thing, is not getting... We had so many chances. There was a game against Celtic about springtime, and I think that really killed our chances of closing Glasgow City and getting a Champions League place. We just had so many chances, but we just couldn't take them. And then we got found out on a counter-attack, and that was it. I think there was a couple of games like that really cost us.
Yeah, I think see, we were the complete opposite. We were struggling to score at United, and I think thinking back to the last couple of seasons, our goals have been sort of with those of mid-table teams, and it's like been finishing sort of 4th both seasons that we've been in the WSL, but yet somehow massively struggling for goals. So it is a strange one. I think the feeling towards Jane from our fans is frustrated because they've seen what she can do. And she's flying in pre-season, but yet when we've sort of had her, she's not been used effectively, and it's cost us. Just looking here, John says absolutely robbed by Celtic. Going to get on to another player then, obviously former Man United player, Lizzie Arnott. Again, massively highly thought of by our fans. She was the first person to score in a Man United shirt, and that was also against local rivals. So Lizzie's classed as a legend in these parts. But how's she done then in Scotland, obviously since she moved back from United?
Yeah, she's fitted in perfectly, to be honest. Really well. She's fast, she's agile, she's nippy at people's feet, and she's getting in the goals already in pre-season as well. So couldn't really ask for much more from her.
Yeah, I think what we like about Lizzie as well, she's very hard working, and I think I said the other day, it's going to have to be somebody that we're on our guard for, because I'm pretty sure herself and Jane are both going to have massive points to prove on Thursday. I think obviously we lost. Well, our manager resigned over the summer, and I think it's more points to prove from them to the club. I think to probably say you were wrong to let me go. So that from our side will be interesting, but I'm sure they'll get a great reception pre-game, and then sort of see what happens, and hopefully they don't cause us too many issues during the game. In terms of thinking of fans, then obviously, like I mentioned to you sort of before the show, we believe Rangers. Obviously, I can only sort of speak from what I've seen of the men's team, but we believe they have like a very big and vocal following. Do you just want to talk to me about that and sort of what we can expect? Because ourselves at Man United, we're known in the WSL for being quite vocal too, so that should be. I'm looking forward to that in terms of fan interaction.
Yeah, so we've kind of got a split. A lot of young girls and families come to watch the women. It's really inspiring for them. Certainly the game last week against Chelsea, there was so many youngsters there. There was academy girls as well. There was families, young boys as well. But then there is this core group of mad Rangers fans. And I think now that we're being allowed back in to the stadiums, we're really trying to get this core group from the supporters club to as many matches as possible, because I think certainly last year the girls played behind closed doors, and I think sometimes in those matches, if we just had that fan base there, that would have maybe just pushed them over the edge to get the results we needed. So we've got, within the social group, we've got a few ideas coming up for the new season and how we can really get behind the girls. So hopefully we get a good turnout on Thursday, and it's the start of a great fan base for this new season.
Absolutely. Gareth, you're back. We're just talking fan base then. Do you just want to sort of talk about from a Man United point of view? You're just saying about, we're really looking forward to sort of the atmosphere and, the chants and songs. And obviously that's something that, Rangers bring to the game as well, which is fantastic. So obviously we don't see enough of it, in my view, in the WSL. But you just want to talk about sort of our group?
Yeah, I think the thing for me that I'm really looking forward to about this game is an away following and the home following to match. I think the only time we ever really get that in the WSL is possibly Chelsea. When we go down there, they've got a good home support. Away, sort of not quite so much. I think away kind of followings in England, the WSL are pretty poor. Sort of generally as a rule across the board. So that's something that I'd really like to see sort of get better. And obviously, as more supporters groups crop up, there are other clubs doing some good things with supporters groups as well. The Leicester supporters group that's relatively new, obviously they're looking at various different sort of things for this season as well. So I think the more groups like this we get across the game in general, so whether it's just WSL or WSL or in Scotland and various other places, it's going to be good for the game, because I think the players will thrive on the atmosphere and will enjoy the atmosphere, and like you say, it's going to help them sort of get over the line and reach that level. If you're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, can you do that little bit more to eke out that sort of just last 10% to try and grab the equaliser or grab the winning goal, or whichever kind of goal you're looking for. So I think, that's really good. I think our away following for a few seasons has been great, comparatively, obviously, to other clubs. I think there's still room to grow that. Sort of take in sort of 30 downs. Has been decent so far, but I'd think, hoping that sooner rather than later we see times where there's 100 or so away fans in the 1,000 or so that are at the game. And I just think that the more that we grow it, I think the really interesting thing for me isn't necessarily going to be this season. It's going to be next season. So after a year of the WSL being on Sky, after a home Euros, what level can it go to sort of next September? Can we leech off the back of Sky having 3 games a week and the Euros sort of being hopefully plastered everywhere throughout July? It'll be really interesting to see kind of where things go in the long run. But for now, I'm just pleased to see fans going to games and supporters clubs encouraging people to go, and not just necessarily focusing on the men's side and the women's game is there as well, but sort of dedicated supporters club for the women's game.
Yeah, spot on. I think it's important, like you say, to have supporters clubs, and it's great to see that so many clubs, worldwide, not just sort of here in the UK, but there's supporters groups all over. I'm going to come to you then, Sophie. In terms of like growing the game, then obviously you mentioned to me, beforehand about like there's the Rangers TV and things like that, and some games are on BBC. What's it like then in terms of like support from the club? Because I know something at Man United I wouldn't say criticise like massively, but sometimes we feel the club could do better, and that's in terms of like social media, advertising, supporting obviously fan groups. Is that the same in Scotland, or is it sort of better?
Yeah, I would say so, to be honest. They have invested heavily in the women's team, but I think they could do a lot better in terms of the social media side. Like yesterday, we were just talking in our supporters group at all the different things they could actually potentially do with the social media side. And I was just saying something that I'd noticed is like Chelsea's women team, they take lots of videos day to day of what's happening on the training ground and just fun stuff like that. And I think that's something would really benefit us. It would be great to see the girls doing something like that, get that interaction, because the girls are fantastic after the game. They always make an effort to come over and thank the crowd and speak to the young kids and take their photographs with them as well. So, like yourselves, I think we could really push on with the certainly the social media side. It has got better in Scotland. Like I was saying, every Sunday when the league begins, there's a game on BBC Alba, and then sometimes on the BBC Scotland Sport page as well, there'll be a live stream of another game on there as well. So it has got better, but I think it could be a lot better. There's still a lot of improvement to go.
Yeah, I think like you said, Gareth, as well, I think having a Euros and obviously, more sort of visible the game is, the better, and the more it should grow. In terms of Rangers then, Sophie, are they, are you attached to the men's team? You mentioned about the funding earlier. Is that something that is recent, or is it always kind of been that way?
The funding has been recent. They've funded heavily into the ladies team and the academy, to be honest, recently. But I still feel there could be an improvement. They could put in a lot more money to the women's team and getting the fans and the supporters behind the women as well. Just the social media, I think. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, it is good, but I think it could be a lot better.
Absolutely. Gareth,
just a question.
Sorry, go on.
Yes.
Go on, to you.
So last season, obviously, I think was kind of what for me was one of the first big steps that you kind of made in terms of getting close to success. What did you make of your season last year? Obviously, came third in the league.
Yeah, certainly from the fans' perspective, I'm sure the girls will think this as well. But it was a disappointing end to the season. We had started really well, going really well midway through. And like I talked about earlier, there was just a few games around springtime that just slipped away from us. And that really kind of made us fall back in the table a bit. We have so much potential. There's so many fantastic names, recognisable names now in our team, that we have the ability to win the league and get a Champions League place. So I think the girls did touch on it. I think at the end of last season, there was the kind of ultimate disappointment. But it's a new season this year, fresh start. I 100% think we can go and do it this year with the players we've signed and previous players just getting better and better. I can't see why we can't do it this season.
That summary of the season, Matt, sounds an awful lot like ours last year. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting actually that the similarities, like you say, because I think ours we were literally on fire, weren't we? We started September to Christmas and we were top of the league, and we were kind of shocked as fans because we didn't expect it. We were pretty much like, if we get third Champions League, we're more than happy. So got to about December, didn't it, Gareth? Christmas break, got into January, and it's a typical Man United thing where January we go on a bit of a rocky patch and form was just dreadful. Then we got injuries injuries, and I think we must have ended up at one point with something ridiculous like 10 injuries to first team players, which by that time just absolutely killed us. And I think we never recovered from that in poor form. I think even when we did have some of those better players fit, we just weren't at it. And I think, we went through January and February, and it was just horrific. And then by the time we got to the end of the season, we literally dropped out of the top three. Finished fourth, a point behind Arsenal, but like I mentioned to you before, our goal difference was so bad in terms of goals scored that it was just, there was no way that we would have caught Arsenal. And I think, we had disappointments as well, even in the cups. We played the Conti Cup, which is like the League Cup, and we left, we didn't even qualify for the knockouts. We got beaten in the group stages. We had the FA Cup and we lost to a Championship side. So it was difficult to take last year, frustrating because we couldn't get in. But just in terms of the way the whole season finished, it was just, pretty similar to yours. Like I say, just that sense of disappointment knowing what could have been. Like I say, I genuinely believe that we had enough to sort of finish in that top three. And that's not the way it went.
Yeah, we had that game against Celtic I mentioned earlier. Kirsty Howitt, one of our key players, got a knee injury. So that was her out for the rest of the season, and she is such a key player. And I think that affected us in that game. But she's back training, so hopefully she'll be back playing again soon. But yeah, we had a few injuries as well, kind of middle towards the end, that affected us as well.
Sorry, Gareth, quickly jump in.
Go on.
I was just thinking, because you mentioned about new signings before. Do you think the club will make any more, or would you say they're pretty much satisfied now with what they've got in terms of, like you said, sort of mounting title challenges?
I don't think there'll be any more, to be honest. I think we've got a really strong team now. We've got a lot of young girls coming up through the academy as well. They're also getting starts in the friendlies, and they've really impressed. So, yeah, I can't see us making any more big name signings. I'd be pleasantly surprised and welcome any more lovely signings, but I think we're there now.
Just want to touch on that comment in the comments from the Ugly Bears on about advertising. Been watching a lot of Sky recently, and they are doing a lot of WSL advertising. So particularly for that opening weekend, they've advertised quite a lot. There's been on Sky Sports News lots of talk this morning. They were interviewing Gareth Taylor, talking about their sort of hopes for the season. So it does seem as though that was last year, kind of when it was tucked away on BT. But this year now with the new Sky deal, Sky do seem to be putting a lot into it, and kind of really going for it in terms of advertising. And I think there was a big billboard in London that had kind of on one side Cavani and on the other side Frank Kirby, advertising WSL there. So that is something that has definitely improved recently. I think in the space of one cricket game I was watching sort of yesterday, I think they kind of showed the opening weekend fixtures 3 or 4 times, and so yeah, that was really good to see. So it's good that's improving. Speaking of opening weekends, Sophie, what are your hopes for this coming season? Seeing as the last season ended so disappointing, how are you hoping to improve on that this year?
Yeah, I think we just need to go in there, get our first win, and just take every game as it comes. Try not to get ahead of ourselves. And just, to be honest, I just want a solid performance. A big factor in this league this season will be the goal difference, I think, again. I think the league's going to go down to that, because both ourselves and Glasgow City can certainly hit 8 or 9 past a team each week. So that'll be really interesting to see. But we've got a few new players, so I think this pre-season is just about gelling as a team, getting that formation right, and just knowing what we want out of this season, and hopefully we'll have a good start. We've certainly been getting the practice in the League Cup as well. So yeah, a good win for the first game would be nice.
Matt, now that our sort of transfers seem to be settling down, we've got a new coach, everything from the United side seems to be kind of a bit more relaxed and kind of prepared. What are you hoping for?
In terms of the season or Thursday?
Well, both.
Thursday, I mean, do you know what? We've always said, in terms of pre-season results, I mean, for me personally, results aren't, the be-all and end-all. I think because it's a new manager and a new system, we need to just get those minutes in and get those players back from last year that are still not fully fit, or some of them haven't even had minutes. I think what I have liked is, we've brought through a lot of youth. I think there was 6 players of the day involved with the squad, which is something we've never done before. I think the most we've had has been like 2 or 3. So I think for me, seeing those youth players being involved and getting the minutes would be a bonus. I'm just looking forward to the trip personally. I really am. I just think, like I say, it's been that long. I'm just like, right, get me up there. Let's go to the game. Let's enjoy it. Let's go home. But it'll be good. That, and obviously as we discussed earlier, sort of the atmosphere, and yeah, both sets of fans, coming together. So I think in terms of the season, again, probably say just cement top 4. I know that sounds a little bit maybe negative, but I just think that the players we've lost, the turnaround of players, new manager coming in, new system, it's going to be sort of difficult for us again to compete. I look at other teams with the amount of goal scorers they've got, and I think we've got 3 forwards, 2 of which are coming back from injury, and one of them is a new signing, so it's going to take time to sort of gel and get in. But yeah, just hoping for that, and I think in a good cup run as well, really.
Cool. I froze for most of that, so I've no idea what you said, but I'm sure it was excellent. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've gone up to Scotland, and it's not the first time I kind of paid attention to Scotland either. We've got a couple of Scottish internationals ourselves. What are you expecting from Kirsty Smith and Kirsty Hansen this season, Matt?
I think, well, we've seen Kirsty in pre-season, haven't we? She's been absolutely on fire, Kirsty Hansen, that is. Popping up with goals and assists. She's sometimes been in and out the side in terms of injuries, but I think, I said this yesterday on John's show, there's a lot to come from her. I think it'll be a big season for her. She's still young. I'm pleased now that she's finally getting international recognition, because it's something we were sort of crying out for, that we felt as fans she should have got in season 1. So I think, the great thing about Kirsty is she can use both feet and she can play on either side. And I think, she's so quick and so strong, it must be a nightmare to defend against, because you literally don't know what foot she's going to use. So for me, just exciting to see that, if she does stay fully fit, how well and how far she can go this year. Again, I suppose you could say similar to Kirsty Smith, again, been unfortunate with injuries, was used at left back for quite a lot of last season and sort of season 2, but adapted fantastically. And again, very good attacking fullback. For me, I rate her ahead of Martha Harris. I think if it's a choice out of the 2, I'd rather see Kirsty Smith playing, just because, she offers that pace and that sort of attacking threat. And when she does go up, she gets back up and down the pitch. But yeah, for me, fantastic. And Gareth's actually disappeared. But in terms of obviously those 2 players, then obviously you have them for the Scottish national team. What do you make of them 2 so far then?
To be honest, I've not really seen them play much at all. So they're very new to me. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform on Thursday.
Let's say Kirsty Smith injured, or she gets some minutes against Villa. Do you know what, John? I have no idea. Did you see if she came on, Gareth? Because I don't think she did.
I'm not sure. I don't think she's injured. Well, I mean, I have no idea. I've not heard anything from the club. She's training though, so I don't think she's necessarily injured. She may well have come on, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have MUTV, so I was only able to watch the awful grainy highlights that they uploaded.
I don't even think it was on MUTV.
Well, yeah, they put some highlights up, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was Liverpool that I couldn't watch. Where did we get to? Because I had to jump out and jump back in again.
So when you jumped out, I was just talking about Kirsty Hansen and Kirsty Smith, and then Sophie mentioned about them sort of from the national team point of view. So yeah, we'll pick up from you're asking that.
Yes, so obviously, as well as those two, Lisiana and Jane Ross both played for us a couple of seasons ago. Obviously, Jane Ross is much newer to Glasgow. Lizzie was there last year, I believe. How has she kind of been getting on?
Yeah, both great, both settling in really well. Jane Ross is a blue nose, so we've got no worries about her not settling in. She's played for Glasgow City before. She started off in Paisley, so she's back where she belongs.
You froze again, Gareth.
Yeah, it's a bit ropey. Do you want to carry on while I get this sorted?
Yeah, will do. Going to look to Thursday. I'm going to put you on the spot, Sophie. I'm going to ask you for score prediction and goal scorers.
I always go pessimistic because that's me, and anything more is a bonus. But I am going to say 2-1 Rangers. Goal scorers, to be honest, it could be any of them. Any of them can pick up goals from anywhere. Likely goal scorers, Ross, Arnott, Hay could get some goals. And the great thing is they just don't get one. They're all capable of getting a hat trick on a day. So I don't care who scores as long as we get a good result. But yeah, I'll go Hay and no, I'll just go Hay. 2 goals for her. 2-1 to Rangers.
Gareth, give me a score prediction and goal scorers.
I reckon we'll get a couple. I'm going to say 2-1 United. I think going forward we've looked okay. We've kind of scored goals in each game, and I think 10 is ambitious.
John's going to get in more trouble than I was going to suggest with my score. It wasn't that daft.
Yeah, 2-1. I just think that we've scored goals in each game. 2 against Liverpool, 2 against Villa. So I'm just sticking with the pattern. We scored 2 in each one. And I know what our defense is like. We're liable for a bit of rustiness here and there at the moment. So I think we'll probably concede. Would quite like for it to be Jane and her run over to you lot, Matt, and shush you. Would enjoy that a lot if that happened, since I can't be there. But yeah, I think for us, I think Leah probably will score. And I'll say a Millie Turner bullet header. Don't know who's going to take that corner though. But yeah, 2-1, I reckon.
Fair enough. Well, my prediction was 3-1. I thought I was going to come in for some stick, but I think John Fry is going to take most of the most of the banter and anything thrown his way for saying 10-0 and 5-2. Dear me.
Nah, Jenna Fife won't let in 5 goals.
I love his optimism though and his confidence. But
fair play.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to say 3-1. I think like you Gareth, I think we are susceptible at the back.
We are too at times.
So that could be interesting. So we could end up with something like a 3-3.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
just because we should have Alessia back. I mean, been saying this now to Gareth for a few weeks, but Alessia Russo has been training now for about a month or so. She's not played any sort of games, so I'm thinking, she's quite a good talent from what I've seen. So I think, yeah, we'll go for 3-1, but I'm probably thinking, if your defence is as bad as ours, then we'll probably get something along like a big
Or it'll be a boring 0-0.
or not a 0-0. Hopefully not a 0-0.
No.
After a 4-hour journey each way.
Yeah,
Gives me nightmares.
fair enough.
Yeah, gives me nightmares watching some games I've done in a long journey. It's been 0-0 and just
that journey back after the Wales game, that wasn't even 0-0. That was 2-0. It felt like a 0-0.
Yeah. John Foster, if I can find his comment, he's asking what the stadium is like. I mean, it's like the training ground, isn't it? But I suppose.
Yeah, so it's going to be held at Auchenhowie, which is the official training ground for Rangers. There is a small stand. Last week it was used for friends and family of players and coaching staff. So we were standing. I don't know what it'll be like. It depends what the turnout on Thursday is, to whether we'll be in the stand or not. But everything's modern and nice and fresh. So yeah, it's for the women up here in Scotland. I think we're maybe one of the only few that actually play at the training ground. A lot of the other teams don't necessarily play where they train, so it gives us a real home vibe. So hopefully that'll play in our favour as well come Thursday night.
Is it a grass pitch then, or is it artificial?
It's artificial.
Right. Okay. Because I know we in England we have a rule where in the top league it has to be grass. So that'll be again that'll be interesting because we won't have played on that type of pitch for getting on for 3 years. So that again could possibly, thinking about scores and predictions, that could potentially easily play into
that
Rangers'
could go in our favour.
Absolutely, because you'll be used to that, and obviously we won't.
To be fair, I think a lot of the ladies' pitches up here are artificial. I could be wrong, but certainly the few that I've been to recently, we've played on a lot of artificial. So again, that could be to our benefit, but
Absolutely.
You never know.
It'll definitely play its part. I'm just thinking again of our back line. That's probably a worry now. But in terms of ourselves, then, John Foster's asking, who are you scared of most in the United side? Is there anybody that maybe need to possibly be on your guard for more than, say, somebody else? Or have I froze there? Can you hear me, Gareth?
Yeah, I can hear okay.
All right. I was sort of saying, Sophie, who then from the Man United side would you think that Rangers need to look out for?
If Ella Tooney plays, I think she'll be one to watch. With Ross and Arnott now at us, and a few players having left Man United, I'm not really that aware of a lot of the players. So I probably couldn't give you a specific answer to what I would be scared of. But certainly I do see a lot of Tooney. So I should be one to watch.
And Gareth, do you want to finish off? Because we were talking about internationals, and obviously Tooney's just about, broken through to the Lionesses squad. But do you want to sort of ask your question just to finish off with about Scotland?
Yeah, so obviously, the Euros next year, and disappointing for Scotland to not be there, but obviously the World Cup as well. is in 2 years, and qualification for that starts next month. So my question, I guess, first of all, is kind of how disappointing was it to kind of get so close to that qualification through the playoffs to then not make it? And also, what's the goal in terms of the World Cup? Looking at that group, there's Spain, Scotland, Ukraine, Hungary, Faroe Islands. So it looks like one where, for me, definitely the playoffs are achievable. So fingers crossed for Scotland at the World Cup. But how is that from your perspective?
Yeah, spot on, to be honest. The playoffs are more than achievable. It was really disappointing not making the Euros, to be honest. But we've got so many great players now, well-known names as well. We've got youngsters coming through. So hopefully just get some consistency back in the team performance, and see where it goes, to be honest. But yeah, it would be grand if we could get a playoff place into the World Cup.
Excellent. Matt, what do you make of, I assume we'll touch on England in the Euros kind of going on, but I know we've kind of spoken about getting up to Scotland and watching some games up there. What do you think of Scotland's chances?
Yeah, listen, I think, the last time we met, they gave us a very good game. I think am I right in thinking they've got sort of a new coaching structure? I know Tanya Toxby has just left Bristol, is involved with the national team. Have they sort of changed the whole coaching structure, or is it just, a couple of people that have come in, Sophie, to the national side?
There has been the changes over the last few years. I think they've got a kind of a set team now. I think there will always be those few that come in the backroom staff. In terms for the new campaign, I don't really know, but certainly from previous performances, we've almost had it. It's just been disappointing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's a lot of that squad that have been together for quite a while, and sort of adding in the youth as well, like you mentioned. I think, to sort of answer your question, Gareth, I think there's the sky's the limit for Scotland. I've seen so many young players. I think, Jamie Lee Napier, I followed her when she was at Hibs, and, she's come over to England. It didn't quite work out at Chelsea, but she was fantastic at Birmingham. And now she's gone to, a decent championship side. So you've got to the likes of her, Caroline Weir, still a young player, Erin Cuthbert, young player, and then you've got the experience in sort of, your Jane Rosses, your Lizzie Arnott. So I think it could potentially go places, and I'd fully expect to see, sort of the national side at the next tournament. Absolutely, for me. I think they'll get in there, and yeah, fingers crossed they don't meet England and put us out of any tournaments anytime soon, but you never know. It happens, doesn't it? Men's and women's, we always struggle.
Well, you saw it with the men in the summer, so who knows, anything can happen.
Gareth, did you want to touch on England before we finish?
Just that, I think we should have a good Euros next year. I think we're in a fortunate position where, qualifying for World Cups shouldn't be too difficult. But if we make it difficult for ourselves, it wouldn't surprise me either. Just glad, looking forward to Serena coming in and hoping we can see the back of the last however many years under Neville and Hegarisa, because some of it's been pretty painful. So yeah, looking forward to a new era, and seeing kind of where we go from there.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to wrap it there then. So first of all, thank you to Sophie for stepping in last minute.
That's all right.
Thank you. Thank you as well to Gareth for joining us and everybody in the comments. Tomorrow, Natalie's back. She's joined by Deborah and they are discussing our development players. Thursday, obviously, we're in Scotland, so we're going to be doing a little bit of live content there, pre-match and obviously post-match as well. So we'll bring you all the match reactions and discussions from there. And then Friday is John Foster with the Fans Forum as well. And Saturday, myself and Ben are back at 7:30 with our Saturday Night Live.